Welcome to part 7 of our 10-part series where I talk and share with you exactly how to write, publish, and launch a successful nonfiction book. Now, this is part 7 and we're going to talk all about creating the perfect book cover that will actually capture attentions and ultimately lead to more book sales. Now, if you are here, okay, it's cover design time. And in my opinion, after writing 4 best-selling books myself and helping hundreds and hundreds of people write their own, the book cover creation process is one of the most fun and most important parts of this whole process. It's literally the time where you get to finally bring your book to life in a visual way. This is often the first time that we get to visually take what we, in our mind, think about our book, and we get to turn it into an amazing book cover that can relate to people, that can capture their attention. And ultimately, it is the billboard for your book. The better the cover, the more likely you are to get eyeballs. Now, as a reminder, my name is Jake Kelfer, and I'm a 4-time best-selling author who's turned my books into multiple successful businesses in the speaking, coaching, and book publishing space. I currently run a company called Big Idea 2 Bestseller, which is a full-service book publishing company designed to help high-performing entrepreneurs and executives write, publish, launch, and market nonfiction books so they can grow their business and make an impact on the back end. Okay, I've worked with hundreds of authors and around the world, helping them turn their ideas, their stories into best-selling books. And I wrote my last book in less than an hour a day, and it's all documented because I wanted to show people that you don't have to spend all day and all night, years of your life writing your book only to hear crickets. I wanted to show you how you could write a book in less than an hour a day that can generate millions of dollars for you and your business. So this one is all about cover design. Now, let's talk about this, okay? Because a good cover can really make a difference, okay? A good cover can make the difference when purchasing a book. I actually had a colleague of mine, and they had been recommended this book several times, but when they looked up the book, the cover was terrible. And they didn't buy the book because they're like, the cover is bad. I can't imagine if the cover is this bad, the book's going to be any good. But after enough referrals, they finally picked up the book, and the book was great. The point here is this. A great cover will attract the right people. A bad cover will repel the people that you're trying to get to read your book. So we say, don't judge a book by its cover, right? That's the cliche of cliches. But in reality, that's exactly what we do when it comes to books, is we literally will judge the book by its cover. If the cover does not capture our attention or doesn't pique enough interest, we're going to move on to the next book. And so therefore, it is vital. It is imperative that you have a great cover for your book. Now, this is an opinion that I have that maybe you'll agree with, maybe you won't, but this is what I've seen to work really well, no matter who you are, is that unless you are a top-tier graphic designer that has done book covers before, I would recommend outsourcing your book cover for 99+% of people. Now, even if you have design skills or you can mess with Canva or any of these things, there's a significant difference between being creative and designing a book cover. There's a difference of having design background and designing a book cover. And so while you'll see here in just a little bit, I'll show you how you can be as involved as you want in the creative process, because that's critically important. But for most people, I encourage you to outsource this. The other reason is you're often so locked in, and in your mind you see something, and sometimes you don't even know exactly what you want the book cover to be. So getting the outside support can make them bring your vision to life better than you could even have articulated it. And that's something that we notice a lot with our authors. So a cover design is just, to be honest, too important to not have anything other than it be top tier. Now, here are a couple of different books covers that I want to share with you. This is book covers that we've helped through our company, Big Idea to Bestseller. Now, you have The Curious Leader, and we'll talk about what makes these covers so great. You have Surpass Your Limits. Notice how there is a specific brand and a feeling that you get when you're reading this, okay? You have The Curious Leader, it piques intrigue. You got the light bulb. You got what feels like kind of this growth, right? Curious, curiosity, dark, light, contrast. And then you have Surpass Your Limits, bold, straight to the point, big title. Notice the names are small. Notice the subtitle sizing in relation to the title. Notice the different style of imagery and visual representation. All right, so here are some things to know about a cover, and then we'll talk about front covers and back covers. So things to know. you are going to need both an ebook and a paperback cover. Now, you'll obviously need a hardcover as well if you choose to do that, and an audiobook cover as well, but we're going to focus on ebook and paperback. Your front cover, when you create your front cover, just like the ones that you see on the screen, these will work for both your ebook as well as your paperback, okay? And you often do your ebook first while you are waiting for the rest of your book to be complete. The back cover, you will only need it for your paperback or your physical copies. That is 3D, okay? Now, next up, and this is sometimes controversial, is for most people, don't use a photo of yourself unless you really want to or you have a really big following. So an example of this is we've helped a couple different clients, and some of our clients, the way that they visually appear is very, very representative of what their book is about, and so they may want to include themselves on the cover. Other people have always had a dream to be on the cover. Great. It's ultimately your book. But remember, most of your readers that are out there have not yet heard of you. And if they haven't heard of you and you're taking up all this space with an image of you, they're going to be like, I don't know who you are, so why would I pick up your book? All right. Instead, you could use that space for title, subtitle, etc. However, if you do have a big following or it's a big part of your brand, you on the cover could make sense. We just had a client with several 100,000 followers, and they put themselves on the cover because they had such a broad audience, and they would be able to get enough book buys early on to then make it bigger and better. Okay. Next is less is more. Think of your book cover as an ad, not just a book cover. So obviously it's a book cover, right? This is going to be the cover of your book, but think of it as an ad, because when you're on Amazon, what do you see? You see book covers, right? Think about it when you're going to promote yourself, the graphics, you're going to see the book cover. If the book cover doesn't capture someone's attention, they're not going to continue further. And so think of this as an ad. Think of this as the goal of this is to stop the scroll, to capture the attention and get people to click, to get people interested. The subtitle and title, part 6, we actually just talked about that, but you want to make sure that these are very visual. Oftentimes, you want to make sure that the title is dead center. You want to have the spacing. You want to have font size. You want to have all these things. When you work with a professional designer like we have on our team, you will be able to create a great cover, and all you have to do is just give your thoughts, and then we create a bunch of different options for you. So whether you're working with us or another team, just make sure that you are getting the visual representations and making sure that there's clear segmentation so that it doesn't get all jumbled and the text becomes too much. Next is your name doesn't have to be huge, especially if nobody knows who you are. If nobody knows who you are, they're not picking up the book because it's your name on the cover. So I often will recommend that you put your name smaller, either at the very top or the very bottom. If it's your first book, I typically like the bottom. I've experimented with this, and what I have found is that at the end of the day, this is a small piece of the pie, but your name shouldn't be the biggest thing on the screen. Your name shouldn't be the biggest thing because, while yes, you are the author, this book is about so much more than just yourself. It's about your story. It's about your message. It's about your lessons. But this is designed for the reader, and the reader is not going to click on a cover or buy a book that is author-only centric. They were going to buy a cover that makes them feel like it's going to be about them and be valuable for them. So these are some of the things to note. Now, let's dig into this. When you are creating a front cover, okay? When you are creating a front cover, I want to show you this with you. Whether you're working with a publishing company like Big Idea to Bestseller, or you're doing this independently and piecemealing it all together, you're going to need some general information that's going to create a great book cover. Now, the first thing you're going to need is a general book description. This is going to help the cover designer understand what the book is really about, especially if they have done books in your niche. Next is I want you to create a list of requests or ideas that you have. Are there books you like? Are there colors you want? Is there a style you're looking for? Is there branding? Right? So if we look at these covers down below here, these are very, very strategic covers. There's a color scheme there. There's a font there. There's a feeling it elicits. There's tied into this person's branding. If you look on the right, this book is for a very professional corporate audience. The New Manager Playbook. Look at the style that it is. It's very bold. It's very straight to the point. But what it also is doing is it looks like a playbook, right? Your X's and O's. So you're tying in that analogy of playbooks with sports with the playbook that you can actually use to teach, okay? And on the left one, you can see this is a higher self-habit. So the scientific, strategic, and spiritual framework. So this is where the spiritual side comes in with the sparkles and the color scheme and these types of things. So these are things that you want to share and you want to get involved. Now, the other thing when you're giving your cover designers, you want to make sure that you give them several other colors. What are the several other covers, that you really like? What are the covers in your niche? What are the covers in the bestsellers list? What do they have all in common that you'd like to emulate? And then what are the categories or the keywords or the genres that you have for your book that can help your cover designer create the right type of cover design? But what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a cover that would be great in a fiction category and then look completely out of place in the business category, right? Customers have a way of seeing things, and it's nice to be similar. Now, don't get me wrong. I want it to have your style, be all about you, make it feel really good to you. But we also want to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance based on experience, time-tested strategies, and also making sure that the books align in the categories that you want them to be seen in. The more guidance you give, the better the designer will perform. Now, this is hugely, hugely valuable, okay? Because as I just mentioned, the more you can give, the easier it becomes to create a design. And here's the truth. Many times, you don't even know how you want this to visually look. And so sometimes the more you just brain dump and get it all out there and you let the designer do what they do best, it can make the process so much smoother and so much easier. Let's talk about the back cover and some of the things that you need, and then we're going to wrap this up. So on the back cover, now the back cover of a book is very straightforward. There's often a lot more text, and here are the things that I like to include on a back cover. I love to include a book blurb. This is this is optional, not mandatory. But a book blurb is where you're going to have some form of a basic testimonial or some form of a words that are about your book. Now, here's what I really love to note on the book blurb. You want to keep this short. You don't want it to take up too much space. I like having one or two typically. If you want to have more, sometimes you can put advanced praise in the book. Again, these are all things that our editing team, formatting team, and publishing team will assist you with throughout the process, making sure it all goes in the right place. But on the book blurb, either have the name of the person be very recognizable to your ideal reader, or have where that person works or their credibility be really recognizable to your audience. For example, in my first book, I had 2 book blurbs on the back of my book. Now, neither of these people were super well known, but their titles were very respected and well known because they came from companies that everyone had heard of or schools that everyone had heard of. On the flip side of that, have a name that people know in your space, okay? And there's ways to shortcut and navigate this. Next is you want to have a summary. So what I like to do is just include a quick summary of the book. You want to give people a quick couple sentences so they know exactly what the book's going to be about. What you'll learn. I always love having this on a back cover because it lets the reader know what they can expect from the book. And when I'm looking to read a book, I want to know, is what I'm going to learn in this book actually worth my time of investing several hours into the book? Next, you want to have bold headlines. You want to have your bio on the back, and you want to have an image on the back. This is where I personally love to put your image because you didn't use it on the front cover, so you throw it on the back cover. This is how you can get personality. That's how people can see it. Here's what you got to know. When people see a physical book, whether it's at a bookstore, whether you give it away, they're going to look at the front and the back cover. When you're online, there's a way to see the front and the back cover. So this is very, very important to execute this at a high level. And then you want to leave space for the barcode. The barcode is going to be where it's going to be on the bottom corner. This is where it's going to have your ISBN number and a few other things that will get it into the systems. So that is what you need to know to give a brief. That's what you need to know about a front cover. That's what you need to know about a back cover. And now you know exactly what you need to do to create a great book cover and how to do so in a way that will actually get people to pay attention and to buy. Now, I go a lot in depth in this particular topic, along with everything in this series in my book, Big Idea to Bestseller. It's right here. Boom. And in that book, I want to give it to you. I want to give it to you a free copy. And so if you want to learn more about how to write, publish, launch a book, and you want to learn every single step of the process, and you want to dig deeper into the cover part, then go to bigideatobestseller.com/free-book, and you can grab a copy of the book. Now, the other thing here is if you're already in the process, or if you're wanting to begin the process of writing a book and you know you need a little bit more support, then I want to encourage you to go to bigideatobestseller.com/call. And you can book a call with our team. And on that call, we'll actually discuss what's your book idea, where are you at in the process, where do you want to go? And then from there, we'll bridge that gap for you so you could spend the time in your zone of genius and let us help you get the rest of the thing done. So feel free to grab a free copy of the book or book a time to speak with us. And that is how you're going to create a high converting book cover that actually sells more books.